You'd be more the planner.
Yeah, otherwise there's no trip happening.
Is that a Dutch thing? The man would just do it?
No, definitely not.
Well, I'm just wondering. Like, I don't know. You guys throw some weird stuff in the conversation.
Screws Matt right up every time you hear the theological point about something, and
seriously,
just doesn't even know if it's a joke or it's serious sometimes.
Yeah, that's like I'm still learning, you guys, right?
Yeah, well, keep learning. Good luck. It's a black hole, man.
All right, okay.
Emphasis on black.
Anyway.
Okay, moving on here. What a disaster. Current situation of the world.
Kyle's all about the show notes. Like he's
what notes? Let me see those notes.
I know, it's really funny.
Make show notes every time. Good for you, buddy.
It's a shared note tab that me and Gary have. Throw stuff in. I'm just reading Gary's notes.
That's what my wife would do.
Quiet, please.
Shh. Okay.
Listen. The U.S. is preparing $2,000 stimulus checks. Is that to everybody?
Pardon?
So the stimulus checks that the U.S. is preparing. Is those going to go to everyone? $2,000?
Yeah, it's tariff money. And it connects to another point I had, which I could talk about as well.
Japan is preparing a $110 billion stimulus package. China has approved a $1.4 trillion stimulus package. The Fed is officially ending QT on December 1st.
Tightening, yeah.
What is that?
Quantitative tightening.
Okay. The U.S. is issuing a $1.9 trillion in treasuries per year. In treasuries per year?
Yeah. New money.
Canada is restarting its quantitative easing program. Global M2 money supply is at a record of 137 trillion, and the global rate cuts are at 320 plus over the last 24 months.
Oh my goodness! You know what that tells me?
In what?
Yeah. What is it?
In what world is there another wave of inflation not on its way?
What does it tell you, man?
Inflation.
What does it tell you, man?
All of that, what you just said. That's the first time I heard it. Global financial collapse.
I don't know how it's not like you see.
How is it possible? That is debt.
Yeah.
You're talking trillions, in excess of trillions in debt. That's just debt.
Yeah, but even the U.S. stock market right now, Nvidia is like over 10% of the whole stock market. Like how does that? That's not. It's insane.
I listened to.
That is nuts. I've not heard that. Like that's crazy.
Those are real numbers.
You're basically putting more air in a balloon that's about to pop.
It is fascinating. I watched the other day.
That pop is going to be so catastrophic.
It'll be global. Like it'll make 2008 look like
It'll make 1930s look like a snowflake too. Yeah, it's going to be insane.
You know what's going to keep me going? My darling wife. She'll have everything organized.
Salvation Army government money.
No.
No government money.
No. That'll all be gone too.
Yeah, that'll be gone too. But the tithes and offerings will still keep coming. You'll get paid. You'll be fine, man.
I'm being I'm not worried about it.
No.
But I am being serious. Like that's debt upon debt upon debt to that really scale.
Weird. Okay, well, so you put the note in there.
I put it in there. I watched a documentary recently on Nortel Networks, which older listeners of the podcast would recognize. It was a telecom company that went broke in the early 2000s. It was part of the dot-com bubble. Mm-hmm. And it's just fascinating studying history. We have a guest. We have a guest in the visitor.
There's some dude here.
Yeah, it's important. Probably wants to be on the podcast.
He just left. I don't know who it was. He looked Dutch.
Only Dutch people come here. You're the only non-Dutch guy that's allowed in this house.
I'm honored.
Nortel Networks, fascinating.
What is Nortel Networks?
It was a telecommunications company.
I remember.
And they screwed a whole bunch of people. It was
everybody.
Fake
it was when you say screwed a bunch of people. Yeah, there was some shisterism going on for sure. No different than probably similar to Enron and other companies that have done similar things. But it was more that it was a darling company, and it was similar to like AI companies. Well, companies like Nvidia or companies like that. And what's fascinating
what is the phrase a darling company?
Like they were getting all kinds of incentives and stuff like that.
No, and they were just a stock pick favorite. And then similar, your comment was fascinating that you just said what percentage of the S&P 500. Like if you go back in the history of time and you look at any company that becomes an anomaly, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because other companies that are investing, like, the Ontario Pension Fund and the Canadian Pension Fund, they have to, by the parameters that they've set up, have to hold a certain amount of these stocks in their portfolio, right? And of course, these are people's pensions, and eventually people's pensions are built up on quote unquote, bubble companies, right? Which can be pretty catastrophic. So it's fascinating.
It happens all the time.
It does. If you looked at the stock market now, and I mean, these stats are out there everywhere, and people that are, bulls in the market would say, this time is different, and AI is going to change things, and the world is changing. And to some extent, I would agree with it in the sense that there's being so much new money printed out of thin air now.
It's ridiculous.
That theoretically things probably are different this time, but they would say but the response would be, if you look at the stats, based on where we are at in a trajectory of stock prices and companies and valuations, being 23 times earnings, which is insane. We're basically due to have a decade of literally zero growth. Like if you looked at 2000,
I think it's
2000 in particular and 1930 were worse. They were worse than 2008.
I think it's worse now,
too.
though, Gary, because
Why do you think it's worse?
because fiat currencies have been so devalued because they're underpinned by nothing.
Yeah, but they're all equally connected to each other. So why do you think that matters then?
Well, so in like the early 1900s, when the stocks crashed, you still had, so the stock market crashed, but there was faith in government bonds. Like you still had, but that's gone now. So people could retreat into the safety of a safe country, i.e. Britain, United States, or whatever.
We don't buy the bonds, yeah.
We don't have that now because these safe nations, these safe governments, their bonds are as worthless as
their currency.
Right. They're as worthless as currency, which is could quickly fall to nothing, just like the stocks. So, for example, you got the United States claiming now they're 40 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
So and their currency is underpinned no longer by anything, right? Except oil and
their military.
How I don't understand. But you mean their military strength?
Yes.
Yeah.
Their
Okay.
military strength.
But it's still nothing to have. There's still nothing to be confident in with regards to the investments of that nation. So if you have the dollar that is, even though it's powered by or lifted up by a military that's strong, if there's nothing at all upholding that dollar, then eventually people are going to want something for it.
They are. If you look at, and it's interesting, even you look at the Japanese bond, right? And Japan's been printing money longer than any other country.
Yeah.
Doing insane stimulus.
And
people are starting to question.
They're a lending economy. They're a lending economy too.
And they're an aging population, right? Which I would say in North America, outside of immigration, is totally our issue too. Like we do not reproduce at a healthy enough rate to really have sustainable growth.
Have more kids.
Have more kids. Yeah. Elon
However,
would say that.
The good excuse is it's really unaffordable to have a lot of kids.
I call BS. I disagree with that.
I don't know. In Australia years ago, they incentivized having babies, and it worked.
How did they do that?
They
incentivize them here too.
How?
You get tax dollars for having kids.
There's not. Yeah, but it doesn't. I don't think it evens out.
What do you mean evens out?
Like, for example, when Australia did it, I think it was like 15 years ago or longer, or maybe even 20 years ago. They basically said, so anything having to do with small children, the government would incentivize with like payments. So you would get a lump sum bonus. Childcare became free or whatever for X amount of time that the kids were in childcare, and they had a population boom. So now that's paying off 20 years later. However, I don't think there's anything like that to incentivize having many kids here.
Kind of like Poland's new law for families with 2 or more kids. They get like a big tax break now too.
Yeah, they do. That was insane. Did I put what the tax break was or not even?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up a minute. Where in Canada though, Matt, people get and I don't know the exact number, but if you're a low income person, or if you're under $38,000, $40,000 a year here, for each person in a married couple, I'm thinking you get $500 to $600 a kid, which is it's not a huge amount, but it's substantial.
Yeah, but
would you not call that an incentive?
But then you're, or at least generally speaking, the assumption would be that the parents aren't working.
Yeah, but one of them shouldn't anyway. So I would disagree with that idea of paying for daycare. I don't think we want to create a society where you're encouraging both people to work. It's totally fine if they do, but I don't
think you need to create a society where both people are working or where you're paying for all kinds of things. But I think if you have a frame of time to just, catapult something from 0 to 5, I think it's wise to say all right, for the next 5 years, if you have kids, this will be advantageous for the young family. That's, I think.
Having said that, there again, I don't know the exact number, but daycare is heavily subsidized right now in BC. And from what I understand, it's pretty affordable if you decide to work. Anyway,
this is what Poland's doing.
Yeah, it was an interesting.
Poland's president has signed a new law introducing 0 personal income tax for parents raising at least 2
It works.
children, a reform which aims to support families, increase household income, and boost economic activity. The bill presented by Carol Naruski in August removes the income tax obligation on families earning up to 32,000 euros, which is about 56,000 Canadian. So anything below that, you're not paying tax on.
If you have two or more
kids.
children.
Yeah.
Like,
Fascinating.
It works.
Fascinating.
Like government incentives can work. They don't have to be permanent, but they can basically, if a young...
once the kids are born, I mean, they're born.
Right.
Could repel the law.
Essentially,
I know, like, you get like what, $600 a month.
That's what I'm trying to say. I feel like you're relatively incentivized. I feel like it's more people.
Especially if you have
I'm going
10
to say
kids.
this carefully. There are people that are quite selfish. That would be one reason why they wouldn't have a lot of kids.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.